Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's. So I've realised I haven't turned my light on or anything. Hang on, let's get that. I'm so ill prepared. Hang on, get this actually better. There you go. A little bit better. In fact, we can even at the back. Hang on. Oh god. There we are. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Question Time, our live show where we answer your questions about game dev, Unreal 4, 5, whatever you want to know about. We're here to answer as many questions as we can. Before we get started, I do want to explain how this works. If this is your first time here, all you've got to do is put your question into chat, and I'll try and pick out as many as I can and answer them within the hour of the show. And if you're a Patreon member, you get access to an early access Discord channel where you can post your questions ahead of time and get the questions answered. Even if you can't make the show live, you can get them answered that way. So, hello everyone. I see everyone in chat we've got here. Let me just clean up my windows here. I've got too many windows open. Hello, yeah, I can see we've got Chris, ETM, Oliver Rapp, Hello Racing, Friend, Pizzo, Deadfire Studios. Hello everyone. Hopefully everyone's all well and good. Before we get started, I thought I'd show you another update on the Deathmatch FPS game that's coming out soon. Been working tirelessly throughout the nights to try and get more in there. And I thought I'd show you the progress we made. Well, I'll skip the menu stuff. I won't bother going. Oh no, I can't skip the menu stuff. Mind. That's fine. We'll just do this quickly. So I'll show you what progress has been made. So score systems are in there. Shooting and all that's still in there. But there's also a kill screen. Before I'll give you a little preview of what it looks like so far. If you're unaware of what this is, it's basically a deathmatch FPS game that I'll be releasing free to play on Steam. and I'll be showing you how to make it. So you'll be a tutorial series coming in 2022, explaining how to make what you see here. I'm just going to make one of these screens bigger, so we'll go to this one here. Oh, I can't. Okay, so yeah, scoreboard in the bottom left is in there now. So if I shoot and kill a player, it'll update that on the screen. And also we've got a kill announcement thing in the top right as well. So as we kill people, their announcements would appear on the screen too. Weapon pickups are in development. They aren't in there yet, but we can walk into it and it'll disappear, and it will reappear in a few seconds. Okay, that's in development at the moment. The other thing that's been worked on, I don't know why it's all stuttery. That's maybe because I'm streaming. If I hit F to throw a grenade, that also damage and kill player character. And there's also a win and lose screen as well. So if I kill a few more times. Sound effects are quite nice in this as well. Time. So if I kill him for at the most set to 5, it would be 25 in the actual end game. We go to what you win, and then kick us back to lobby. Play the game again. So all that's really left is to do the weapon pickups and make it so it gives you XP based on how well you performed in the match. There's a few other things I want to put in there too, but more previews of that in the future. Let's close that. Oh, it's looking quite good. Can't you hear me? Oh yeah, you won't be able to hear the game because the way the stream's set up, but you will do eventually. Okay, so I'll close that and go back to our question time map project here. So we'll answer a few questions first of all from our Discord channel. In our Discord chat we have. So we've got quite a few in here, so I'll do one, spread them out, and do another from later on, and so on and so forth, and get through them all. So the first question here is from Trilobite, who's a Patreon member, and his question was, he's watched my live stream where I've done point and click and the 2 episodes in my new mini-series for point and click adventures, and I'm wondering how would you set up an attack that doesn't use the UI options? For example, would be like Diablo, where the character can just navigate to enemy and attacks, or even in the RTS, I'm hoping it's possible on a controller and character blueprints, not in behavior trees, etc. So if you want to be able to just click on actors, pretty simple. The first thing you need to do is make your own controller. So make a new player controller. Call it first person controller. Ooh, I turn caps lock off. And we're going to set our game mode to use this controller. So I'm going to game mode. And we're going to change the controller over to our first person controller. And I'm also going to turn off the default pawn class as well to none now. Change it back in a second. Just so when I push play. Oh, I've got to delete that one. When I push play, nothing happens. I just spawn like this. Okay. Then I want to put in a... Actually, no, I will put in the characters. Without having to change too much. Essentially, I want to be able to see the mouse cursor. So, show mouse cursor, turn that on. And then you go to click events. And you want to do enable click events. And on the click event keys, you can see left mouse button has been assigned to it. If you want this to work for gamepads as well, you need to assign it to like an A button gamepad, so to speak. But you need to be able to move a cursor around to do stuff like that. It's a bit more complicated with a gamepad. But for the cursor, mouse cursor, it's simple. It's just this. So once you've got that enabled, all you need to do then is on an actor. You have something that you can actually click on, so like a cube, for example. And then you have the event actor on clicked. And that will now work. If this doesn't work, it's because your controller that's been enabled hasn't been set to enable click events. You need to have that turned on. If you don't have it turned on, it's not going to work. So turn that on, and then your click events will now trigger. That's how you can do things like attacking. Yeah. So let's now jump over to the chat over here. Wow, lots of people talking. Okay, let's try and do this. Okay. I'm just trying to grab one. Okay, I'll just pick the latest one. From Golden Pixie. Hi, how can I use the interface to cast to the player in an actor's on event being overlapped? Okay. If you okay. So what you need to do if you make an interface, let me just first of all change my game mode back to the regular. So let's make an interface for this blueprint interface, and we'll do this one as Golden Pixie interface. So if you're doing a cast just on the interface, it's kind of wasteful kind of way, because you like for example, okay, so the player character walked into an actor. Okay, so this actor here, this new blueprint here, if I just change this to have a vision area on it. Okay, so I'm also make that so we can see it in game. So I've got this box collision, and if I do an overlap on that, I want to detect if this has been used for something. If you're doing an overlap event on here, that one actor we can overlap. The other actor here, if you want to know who the other actor is, you're saying you want to use an interface rather than a cast to just cast anyway. You kind of put in like an extra hurdle of complication before the actual job you're doing. But, for example, okay, so the interface would look like this. Get player, and that would output the player parameter, the first person character in this case. Person character. Okay, something like that. And then on the player character here, you would have on the class settings the interface here, and we'll add the Golden Pixie one. And then you'd have to go to the interfaces here, get player, and then do cast to or output self, I guess, if you want. It feels weird, like there's like you can do a cast if you want, first person character, plug that in there, and then I don't know, get player character. It feels so backwards. So for example, something like that, and then on here on active overlap, you just then do I call it get player. Yeah, get player message. They'll get the player, and then that outputs the actual player reference for the first person character. So I should be able to get finger index for example. Yeah. Now this is pointless because this is just going into something else, an interface, to call on here to do a cast on there to get to there. You could just as easily just do cast to the class you want to cast to. Using it just to do a cast on the interface would be pretty poor if you just want to get the access to it. If, for example, you wanted to get something like get the we'll change this to say, we'll have another one in here called get turn rate, for example. Okay, and that outputs a float. On the player character, you still need to go into here and convert function, not convert function, open graph, and then in here plug in the base turn rate into there, and then on this you just do get base No, did I compile it? Oh, turn rate, not get turn rate. And that will just get me the turn rate value of that. But that's if it has that on there. That may not actually output that. It's kind of weird. You could just cast to what you want to get information from on here. But it just works like anything else. You just have to cast on there to cast to it. If you want to do casting, works exactly the same. I don't want to use casting as much as possible, actually. I just don't know how. Casting interfaces, like, I've mentioned this a tons of times on these streams. There's like there's the argument of saying like you should use interfaces not cast and cast not interfaces and so forth. They're two separate things. They're two different things. They're doing two different things entirely. You can use them to do the same thing, but they're not meant to be for that. A cast is there to turn a reference of an actor to something else. You got an actor reference, for example, and it doesn't. You need it to match something else because another function requires it of that type. Then you need to cast to get to that function. Whereas interface is ability to trigger virtual functions that may or may not exist on an actor, and you need to try and call them, like a pickup event or interact event, or deal damage to it, whatever. It's a very different thing. Now, as I said, you can make them do the same job each, but they're two separate entirely things. So it's more, if you find yourself using cast all the time, chances are you're using it incorrectly. Remember, the number one rule with casting is don't do this where you have the function and you go cast to tool menu, for example, and go, okay, what do I plug in here? That's not how you're meant to use it. What you're meant to do is have a reference, first of all, like get player character. Because this is a function that just returns a generic character class. It doesn't actually do anything special with it. If you want to get a specific one, you need to cast that to that class. If you're using just virtual functions all the time rather than a casting, it's just as wasteful as a cast could be. So don't get hung up on, I shouldn't be using one or the other. Make sure you use them for the right reasons first. That's the first thing. How to be able to switch between FPS and third person at the same time. Okay. I'm gonna bring in some character model. Let's just importing that in now. Look at that. So on my player character here, I've got the arms, obviously doing the first person character stuff. That already, I'm not going to bother with anything else there. But on my character here, I'm going to add another thing on it. Get rid of these. I can't leave them there. They're fine. On the viewport here. So I need to have a third person view for this character too. So I can add on our we've got first person camera there. I'm gonna get rid of the motion control just to make it simpler, by the way. That get rid of that stuff. Just making it easier to see what's going on. So you have first person camera here, okay, and then you'd have a different mesh. So the mesh here would be for the third person character. So here I'm going to choose the animation, the mannequin, which is this one. Yep. And this is from the pack I just imported in. Is the animation starter pack. And I'll give that the animation class of the that one. Okay. So this guy would be there, and then I have attached to that mesh there the spring arm. And that spring arm will have a camera. That spring arm, we want to tell it to use the pawn control rotation. And hit compile. So obviously we don't want both showing at the same time. So the camera, the third person camera, we're going to tell it to not auto activate. Go down here, turn off auto activate. And then on the mesh, you want to turn that to be hidden in game. Okay. Then on the event graph here, I want to make it switch by using just the one key. Okay, and we'll do function to switch to first person. And we have another one called switch to third person. So switch to third person. There's a few steps you have to do to make it work because the first person character is movement is very different from a third person character. So the first thing you do is switch the camera over. So when we switch to third person, we need to take the first person camera out and deactivate it. And then we need to take the other camera out and activate it. That's the first job. We then need to tell to hide the first person camera's mesh 2p and things like that. We're going to drag the mesh 2p out. That. And we're going to do set hidden in game. And we're going to tell it to propagate to children as well. And new hidden to be true. So that way it will trigger that to be hidden and all of its children that are attached to it. So that's the gun and everything else attached to it there will be hidden. We then also want to make the mesh here visible. So we're going to take the mesh and do set hidden game. And the new hidden is going to be false. And we're going to propagate that to children as well to make them all show. So that's the first thing. So let's just get that working in our thing here. So let's go to event graph. When we press it, we're going to do switch to third person. And then we can look at what the movement issues are. So first person, no problem. Hit 1. And then we're in third person. So first issue is the character is facing the wrong way. So I need to fix that. Going to first person character here. And we'll look at our model here. So the problem he has is that he's rotation. Oh yeah. Because the spring arm, we need to tell the spring arm to oh god, hang on. To not inherit the yaw. Turn it off. I think that's right. No. Hang on. Go back on again. You're from parent component. Parent component's the mesh. You're the mesh is being rotated. But it should follow that. Oh yeah, sorry. You have to turn off use controller rotation. You're turn that off. So I'm going to go to switch to third person, and we're going to do use controller rotation. Your set. Leave that to false. And we should now be able to turn the camera around, so forth. So at the moment, our forward vector and left vectors are broken. Our character's broken in their direction they're facing too. So we need to tell them to also rotate accordingly too. At the moment, they don't do anything like that. They're fixed into space. So the mesh here, we want to event graph. And we go to character model movement here. And we're going to tell them to turn it to use controller desired rotation on as well. Which is the third person. Take that out. Use controller desired rotation. Set. True. And press again. Okay, so he's turning around at least once. But I don't know why he's not facing the right way. These turns. Oh yeah, look, it's broken here. Why is it broken here? Oh, weird. It wasn't rotated there correctly. There you go. That works. So I can switch to third person, just like that. Yeah, for some reason, the instance version of it had it set to 0 with the sense. Anyway, that's how you do that. And then to make it go back, we have to basically do the opposite of what you see here in the switch to first person. So I'm going to copy all of this. Switch to first person. Paste that all in there. That in. And start swapping things around. So cameras here will switch. That one. And that one. There. Set hidden game. We're going to tell the mesh 2p here to be hidden. And the mesh here to be hidden, be true. Use control rotation, your be true, and use control desired rotation, it's going to be. But that's the opposite. Then on event graph, when we do the switch over here with 1, I'm going to do flip flop. And the first time I push it, it's going to go to third person. Second time I push it, it's going to go to first person. And carry on switching between the two. Now, in first, third, first, third, first. Okay. That's it. There's a few other things you'll need to do as well, like change like the UI to fit accordingly, and other things you may want to tweak as well with movement, maybe. But ultimately, that's what you do. Do things that. Okay. Thank you for the donation, Simplify. Next question we'll take from Euroxious Hornet. I've used tons of collision spheres, cubes, and capsules, but I haven't seen a collision for a cone. Is there an easy way to do that? No. Simple answer to that. You can't do cone collision shapes. There are workarounds, obviously. I can show you the workaround if you want. So, for example, in this thing, the viewport for this, I'm going to add to the first person camera a static mesh. And in there, I'm going to choose cone. And then I'll reposition it to the size I want it to be. This is not a great way of doing this, by the way, because it's got rendering things and all sorts going on. But you do that. Do that. And this works for any shape, really. Do this. Just, I would not recommend it. Okay, so there's a cone. And if I change this to collision, obviously, to overlap all. Okay, so nothing will get blocked by it. Make sure it doesn't also do projectiles. Overlap all. And it's query only. So nothing's going to physically bounce off on it. And then I want it to be hidden in game. It's not a hidden game, but visible. Okay. So turn that off. And now I can do things when overlapping it. So if I do that mesh here, add a reference, component begin overlap. Do like print string. Other actor. And that is a way around that. That's it really. Need to make it so it ignores us as well. Anyway, make it visible so I can actually see where it is. It'd be right in front of us. Yeah. Oh, because these are not actors, are they? Put that in there. Yeah, see, now I can trigger that. So when that overlaps that, it'll trigger that shape there. Okay. You just make it so you can't see it, and then that's it. That's the workaround. I said I wouldn't recommend it because it isn't. It is obviously it's a model. It has to measure things out. The reason why you have capsule, cube, and sphere is because they're very easy geometrically to describe in a computer. It's very easy for them to understand it and work out collision. In this case, we're using a mesh to do it for us. But that's the workaround if you want to do it. Um. Now, let's take another question actually from Discord because I haven't gone back to that yet. Let's go back to that. So the next question from Discord is from Skykes. Can you show how to do multiple collision boxes affecting each other without making infinite loops? For example, I have a rock projectile that explodes and it hits the ground. If the actor passes through a different actor, I wanted to change this effect to a fire rock projectile that makes a fire explosion on the ground impact. In God, it for that specific description, it sounds like you want to use a do once node. So it only does explosion once, but it's hard to know for certain what you're trying to do. But a do once node would fix that for you. By the sound of it. And another question from here, Rude Boy. Hi Ryan, could you talk a bit about the problems multiplayer online games encounter with World Origin rebasing? Is Origin rebasing actually usable for multiplayer, or is 20 kilometers just a hard limit? I haven't really tested it myself, but logically, in my mind, I would see it as being an issue. Because if you're changing the World Origin, every actor also needs to also change their reference to the World Origin because all their information is going to be wrong. I imagine there would be issues, but as I haven't tested it, so I have no idea to really comment on it. But 20 kilometers is a hard limit. That's a pretty good size. that's quite large. When you're dealing with games of that large scale and multiplayer, you're looking at breaking it off into instanced areas and chunks anyway. Because of networking things. But yeah. I can't say for certain. I don't think it is usable. Just by the nature of what it is actually doing. How that would impact other players. But I could be wrong. Oh, pardon me. Hey Ryan, this is from Bartisus. I tried to import a skeleton to Unreal, just a skeleton with no mesh, but apparently it's impossible. Do you know any way to get around this problem? Yeah, you can just hang on. I tell you what, I just downloaded a thing from Mixamo. Let me just grab it. Find out where to put it. Oh, where is it? Hang on. Download it. Where did I put it to? I've no idea where it went. So I'll Mixamo here. I'll just bring in an animation. For example, I'll download this one without skin. Okay, so it's gonna have no skin on it. Download that. And then I'll drag that into here. So if you need to bring it in, you do need to have a skeleton first and foremost. Because you're importing an animation on its own, it needs to know what skeleton it belongs to. And the skeleton is only associated to a mesh. So if you're bringing in a skeleton animating, you must have the mesh first of all that's bound to that skeleton. Once you've got that, then yeah, you can do it without it. But you do need a skeleton first of all that is assigned to it. In this case, I don't have one. So if I assigned it to a different skeleton here, if they had the same name set up, I think it would work okay. So if I click Youthful Mannequin for this won't work because it's a mixer mode and they busted. If I hit import, I get the error. Yeah. Because it doesn't have the same track stuff. But if I go and maybe... have I got a UE4 stuff? No, hold on. How can I test this out? Oh no, I'll load up my deathmatch game and I'll export an animation from that. Give me a second. Okay, so if I take one of these animations, that is using a different skeleton to the other thing. So I've got this this grenade animation here. So I'm gonna export this. Now, sure. Okay, so I'll export that out, and I don't know if it actually comes with a. Might actually come with a mesh as well, which I don't want. Yeah, so this thing doesn't have the same skeleton as natively as what I've got here. So I'm going to use in particular the animation starter pack one. They technically have the same named tracks, so it may be allowed to use that one. So I can pull that in. It seems to be okay. No issues yet. So as long as the bone names match up with an existing skeleton you have, then that'll come in just fine. It's a bit busted this one because it's meant for first person, but it works. It just retargets it to that skeleton as you import it in. As for the actual skeleton to bring in like a posing skeleton, I don't think there is a way to do it without bringing mesh animation. Sorry. Where are we going? Oh, okay, I've lost track of things. Okay. Sarah Lee, how are you, Ryan? I'm good, thank you. I was wondering can you maybe explain how replicating works? I'm trying to replicate functions my character is doing, but I'm getting a little confused with the client server custom events. Okay, so obviously this is a massive topic. I've got loads of videos on it anyway. So the general gist of it, do I actually still have my deathmatch one open? Yeah. I can walk through an example in here because it's obviously an online game. Let's go into the shooting of the character and explain how this works, for example. So in here, for shooting, okay, so the way shooting works in this is you have input actions, and the inputs only happen on the client side because the client's pushing a button, no one else is, so therefore they're the only ones that can really react to it. So when you see an input event, this is something that is a client only event. So let's take shooting a gun, for example, and work through that as a basis. What needs to happen on a gun is I need to pull the trigger on my side, and then I need the server to tell me whether or not I'm allowed to shoot something, and what I'm allowed to hit with it. So what I'm doing here is using an RPC, which is a remote procedure call. And what this does is basically it sets off another event, which is then replicated across to something else. In this case, I'm replicating this one to the server. It says execute on server. This tells the server version of this character to run this code. So there's think about it in two-player game, there's two versions of this character, one on the client side, one on the server side. If I call input action on one of them, this one does not know that this one is doing it. So I have to say, hey, I want to shoot a bullet. So it goes to the server, run your code and do your thing. Now, the reason why I want the server to do this is because I don't want the client to have access to the ability to determine whether they hit something or not. Otherwise, you get cheating. People can cheat with it, which you don't want. So the server is boss. They are deciding what happens here. So the server does all calculations and works out, okay, yes, you can shoot. Yes, you're hitting something. And yes, you've dealt damage to something. So that's what it's doing all here. It's doing hit results, getting the damage, doing the damage. But the next step is I then need to tell the clients, not just the other one that actually called this in the first place, but all of them who show that that player has shot a bullet. So they animate, shoot a particle effect, do all those sorts of things. So this calls another RPC called Fire Bullet. And this is a multicast one. So multicast is then sending it out. If it's called by the server, is then sending it out to every single client. So every single client now is now firing a bullet out of their gun. Only the server, though, is actually doing damage. The others are just doing it for visuals. And that's generally the rule you want to follow, is that the clients, ultimately, what they do doesn't matter. It's what the server does. The clients are only there for visual stuff, to interpret the information, interpret the data into that position. So on that Fire Bullet happens here. Let's go through the whole process, actually. So we've got the client side here. They pull the trigger. They tell the server, hey, I want to shoot in this direction and at this velocity, whatever. The server then does all calculations and then sends off to everyone and does the damage. Okay, because damage is going to be dealt by the server. But then it tells everyone, hey, shoot your animations, shoot your particle effects, and so forth. It's not just that client that pulled the trigger, but because every player needs to see it, everyone will do it. And that will only come from the server. The server is the only one that can tell others what to do. Clients don't see other clients, they only see the server. So you do need to think about, if you want a client to trigger something on all of the players, you need to go through the server. So you do an event onto the server, and then the server onto all of them. The other one I didn't explain was the run on owning client. So if this is a server version running on it, actually, have I got an example of one that's using this? I think I've got one on the... I must have one. Server. Owning client. Okay, yeah, update health. Okay, so this is an update health UI thing, because I only want the client's health bar to change. I don't want everyone's health bar to change. Otherwise, when they receive damage, everyone will see their health bar deplete, which is not right. So I only want the client's version of the character to show their health bar depleting. So that's what this does. The server goes, okay, whoever this one belongs to, out of all you lot, you're going to update your health UI in this case. And then it gets the controller. And the get player controller actually receives the client's version of it, because the client is running this thing. The server isn't. The client is. So the client will call that one and then do their code locally, privately for them. So running on owning client are events that you want to fire when you want something to only happen for the client. So another example is if I shot someone in a game and they have their screen flash red, I only want the owning client screen to flash red. I don't want to have everyone's screen flash red. So I'd use an event like this to trigger that. But only the server can call that. Clients can't trigger other clients because clients do not know other clients exist. They only know about themselves and the server. Hopefully that helps. Someone asked as well, but I think it's got answered. What does reliable mean? So when you make one of these, you can tick reliable. This just gives it higher priority in the packet sending. So as your game sending packets of data across the internet, reliable means it will make sure that one doesn't get lost. Because when you're sending stuff over the internet, data gets lost all the time. But if you give something a bit more higher priority, it can make sure that that one gets across, and it'll forsake something else that doesn't matter too much. So if it's something that's super important to the gameplay, tick reliable. So for example, to improve my game here, I would go to the RPC to fire the bullet, wherever that is. On the weapon base here, sorry. So my weapon here, my RPC fire, this server function, I should make reliable. When I want the player pull the trigger, they should want to make sure that they are dealing damage. So this will definitely replicate the reliable replication. And then But the fire bullet event, one that is actually doing the animations and the effects and things like that, that doesn't matter. But if someone doesn't see that, it's not going to break the game, not going to break the illusions of stuff. It will just look weird, which is totally okay. We can handle weird, but we can avoid it if we can. But obviously, this is just a brief intro to server side and client side stuff. We're going to be doing more of stuff for that when we do the actual series about making a deathmatch game. And I'll reiterate what that actually means, because there'll be another video on it soon announcing like the title and when it's coming out, how you can play it and stuff like that. But the idea is that to release this game, you'll be free to play it. You can play it yourself, and then you can follow tutorials to make it yourself using your own assets. And anything we add to the game will also be a tutorial. So, for example, if we ever add a battle pass for it, I'll make a tutorial about how to make a battle pass, and so on and so forth. So it'll be something that's evolving all the time. But it's a nice live demo to show you how to A, make your game, and B, publish it. Because I'm going to go through that as well. How to actually put it on Steam, how to get people actually playing your game. Happening next year. Okay, so we've got one more question on Discord. We're going to go and answer. This is from someone called Unbelievable. Ryan, could you show us a material one could create that I could put on a plane that would show a rotating star-like shape? So it would appear just to be a standing star that spins very, very fast. Okay, I haven't got a star shape, but I can definitely show you that. I'll close my deathmatch thing now. Okay, so let's make the material. And we'll do spinning that. And I'll give this a plane. No, I'll give it the cube here. So if I want the material to affect the whole position rotation of a object, I need to use a rotate about axis thing. Remember where it is. Rotate about axis. There you go. So this I always confuse and mix up, so bear with me. So we need the normalized rotation axis. So that is what axis are we rotating. So we put in here, and the axis we want to rotate, it'd be the in the Z1. We'll just put that in world position for now. And then we need rotation angle, so how much we're going to rotate it by. So I'm going to put in a time of this, for example, and put that into a sine wave. And actually, no, just do time, be fine. Time into there. And then rotate about axis needs a pivot point as well. So that'll be where the pivot is going to be. 0, 0, 0 is the local point. So that needs to be world position. Okay, I think that's a world location, that one. Oh no, is it this one that's world location? Yeah, so sorry. World position goes into position. A pivot point will be just the 0, 0, 0 thing. Yeah, there you go. And then it spins around in a circle. Yeah, and that's it. But because this is a material, it's only affecting the render of it. It won't affect the occlusion of it. So you're not going to see anything crazy happen with this. But if I were to give this on the plane, for example, down there. Oh, hold on, it's rotating. There you go. Yeah, pivot point was wrong. Hold on. Yeah, so the issue was because 0, 0, 0 is the world coordinate. So it's rotating around the world coordinate. So I need to give it its actor position. There you go. Then that spins on its own axis. Okay. If you want it to spin another way, you just change up here what axis you want to spin it on. So if you want to change that to like the this effect. But again, that's only visual. It's not actually going to do anything collision wise. Oh, let's go with that damn cone. Hold on. Yeah, so there's the plane there. If I can stand on it here and see it flipping around, it doesn't affect me whatsoever. It's only rendering differences. It's not actually doing anything crazy with it. But this is much, much cheaper than spinning a static mesh. Because when you spin a static mesh, it's got to recalculate those collisions. And if you don't have collisions on this, therefore, no problem. So it is going to be a lot cheaper if you want to do stuff like that. So if you've got something that's environmental, that's art-wise, it's looking nice, like a spinning thing, do it like this. It's a lot cheaper. You're going to have no overhead on it, really. Strongly recommend. But if you need the player to be affected by it, then yes, you need to make it an actual static mesh rotating. Hopefully that helps you out. Unbelievable. Okay, so next question. Deadfire Studios. Hey Ryan, I'm making a Christmas game about fighting a blizzard with hot cocoa weapons. Cool, okay. Is there a way for me to shoot hot cocoa blobs and have them stick to a surface they hit? Yeah, so we're actually in a game at the moment where we've got a blob, a ball thing that's going out like this, yeah. And if I just change its settings on the projectile here, so go to projectile movement component and tell it to not bounce. And when it hits something, when it hit, I'm just going to disconnect that for now. When it does hit something, I want to turn off physics on it. So take the collision the root component and do set simulate physics, and I'm going to turn that off. That's it. So as it hits walls, it will stick there, and they'll hit each other, and they'll stick there too, like that. And if you want, you can actually have collision on these things so that they would affect. You can walk on them after the fact. So if I do that and then tell the collision component here to set collision response to channel, I can then tell it to, when it's hit something, change the channel for pawn to be block. So, and I also change the lifespan as well so it doesn't kill me. So, you know, in those games like Prey and things like where you leave like glue guns everywhere, you can build bridges out of stuff. You can now do that here too. It's round. Yeah, I'm gonna fall off of it 'cause it's round. But yeah, you get the gist. Yeah, just gonna slide off it all the time. Got two round things. The capsule's round and that's round, so therefore I'm gonna fall off it. But it is there as a physics object thing that is now stuck. Okay. That's it. Yeah. Do it. And that little gap you're seeing there, by the way, is because on the view, the sphere is slightly bigger than the ball. But now it's slightly bigger than that. These globules. Obviously, you can put material on them to make them look more free. So, for example, let's put water on it. Water. Or we can add a phenol node one. We'll go here. That. space. This in by n. Okay. Oh, never mind. That'll do. So there's a thing. That. But the fennel needs to be. Yeah, it needs to be higher fennel, but there you go. You get the gist of it. That's how that works. Alpha Alien. Do you dream of having your own indie game dev studio? I guess so. I mean, I do it. Like for example, this deathmatch game that's coming out next week. Well, no, not next week. Relatively soon. And that's a game I've made within like a month or so, so I could do that. But the plan, I mean, the long-term goal of the channel and everything we do here is, because I never settle, so I'm always growing. So one of the things I want to do eventually, not next year, I don't know when it would be, but eventually be into a position where it will be a studio that not only makes video content like this and streams and in an actual studio, an actual office and things like that, but also our devs ourselves making games on the side and also talking about and showing how we make the games we're making. So this sort of like deathmatch thing I'm doing here is sort of a precursor to that, as a way to show you that what we're doing is possible. You guys can do it too. Almost like a crowdsourced dev studio, so much so to speak. So whether it's not really a dream, it's more like a plan. Otherwise I'll just keep making games myself and releasing my own games, or working freelance like I normally do, making other stuff. How are we doing for time? Okay, a few more questions. Do you work hours a day? Do you work 8 hours a day on your content / games? This is from Eric. I work a lot more than that. Like, hang on, let me work it out. Actually, on a Monday. Hang on, where's my calendar? I have to have it in my calendar now. So on Monday, I work 9. On Monday, I worked about 15 hours. 15 hours, maybe. A very minimum would be 8 hours a day, but no, not a very minimum would be like 11 hours a day, because I'll do a full day working day and then I'll do some more stuff in the evening. But thankfully, yes, I'm not driving to my teaching job anymore. So I just work from home, working this off. But one of my New Year's resolutions is to give myself back time. So next year, I'm going to force myself not to work as much, because I just get no time to relax. Like for example, Halo Infinite's out and I haven't played it yet. Why? So I need to play it. So I may actually stay up a little bit late tonight and just do it. I'll play a little bit of it. But part of me thinks like I have the mindset of like I could play a game, or I could make a game. Because to me they're both enjoyable. Like the deathmatch game, I've really enjoyed making so far, and it's nearly finished. So I'm like, so I'll just finish it before I play anything. But they have to remember that I have to look after my own mental health, my own physical health, beat myself off with. Like today, for example, I had to stop working today, and I went to cinema instead with the wife. We saw Ghostbusters. We went out for lunch. That's a nice break away, because I was literally working 24/7. So I needed to step away and stop. Yeah. Halo multiplayer is not going to help you with mental health. Yeah, no, definitely won't. I played a little bit of the multiplayer. But I'm all about the single player stuff nowadays. I don't have time to be good at multiplayer games. The best thing I'll get with multiplayer is MMO, like Final Fantasy 14. I'm playing at the moment, but barely I get to play that. Next question. Do you have any plans? This is from Robert Stewart. Any plans to do VR tutorial series, like starting from scratch, how to set up the movement, and then branch into other aspects of the game? Yeah, it was actually meant to be something I wanted to do this year, but it never got round to just because of time. But it is on the list to do. There's a few key things that are on my list to do, and that's one of them. VR and AR type stuff. So yes, I do plan on doing it. As of when, I don't know. I'm hoping to have more time in the new year to do stuff. I'm bringing people on to help me a little bit as well. More plans on that in the future. We'll talk about that when it's closer to. Yeah, we'll be doing stuff like that. Ryan Laley, AI Move 2 for non-character AIs. You can't. AI Move 2 is a character specific thing. I think it is. Check it. Oh. No, you can use a pawn. Sorry, you can use pawns. There has to be a pawn at least. Characters and pawns. Because pawns have to be controlled by AI. Actors can't be controlled by anything, so that won't work. If you want to move something other than a pawn or character, tough luck. You have to make it a pawn or character. Using AI, that is. Vlad's asking, how would you charge an attack with a weapon? The longer hold, the more power it is dealt, and animation would change on how long the attack is held for. So from normal to strong to super power attack. Okay, so a bit hard to do animation stuff because I don't have animations I could do it with. But we could do it with color, and this we could try and do. So let me set that to the default projectile thing, and so this is yellow. Okay. So we'll make it so it's charged up. It'll change a different color. Okay. But the same concept applies to animation. We'll see in a second. So when I'm shooting, here, pressed and released. Let me get some space here. So when I press, I want to do a set. You can do a timeline or you can do a timer. Whatever you want. I'm gonna do a timer by event. And the event is going to be custom fire bullet. And that is going to go off and trigger the usual stuff. Get it from there. My release is going to also do that, but first what it's going to do is going to clear and invalidate this timer. So return value here will promote to variable. Bullet charge timer. And we'll just drag that out. And clear and invalidate it. Plug that into released. And then put the end result of that into the actual fire bullet. Or just call fire bullet, whatever you want to do. Either way, works just fine. With fire bullet though, we want to know the strength of the bullet. So how much charge it had. So on fire bullet here, I'm going to add a... so we're going to add a variable to the whole thing actually. Charge. We'll do current charge. And that'd be a float. So on set time by event, oh, hang on, let's play this actually apart. So I won't do fire bullet there. I'll just drag that to a reroute node and plug that into the... Okay, so if the timer finishes, it's going to call fire bullet and go along this path. In this path here, I'm going to set current charge here to 1. Okay. And then connect it back up to here. If I clear and invalidate the timer through releasing the key, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take the time remaining from the charge timer. So time remaining. And I'm going to add that to 1 and set it to this. So you're going to do current charge set. And then we're going to do add 1. So it's going to increase it by the amount of time that was left on it. And then that'll go across and do its thing. Now, when we're firing off, if you want to do a different animation, for example, then what you'd have to do is get the enemy instance and cast the enemy instance and send it over to the enemy instance, saying like, this is the value, and use a blend space to change that value. So I've done something similar in one game where I've done a hit effect. So where the more damage you took, the different animation you did for the hit. I put a blend event for that. So you do something very similar to that. And I can actually load it up and show you in a second how to. But we'll just get the change color. So when we do spawn projectile here, we're going to make sure this has got something set up already. Diffuse color. Yeah, cool. We are going to go to the projectile here and add it to this. Charge, float, default with 1. When it's created, so begin play, we will have a new charge value. So we're going to take the charge value out. So I'm going to make that editable and expose on spawn. Drag that out, do get. And then on begin play, I'm going to take the sphere out. Create dynamic material instance. And I'm going to choose the current material, which is this one. Set that to there. And then the turn value from this will do set vector parameter value. And that vector parameter is called diffuse color. So let's make diffuse color. Okay, so now I've got this value coming out of here, and I've got this charge. This charge I'm going to normalize to a range, and that range minimum is going to be 1 because that's the starting value it's going to be, and the range max is how long I can charge it for plus 1. So if I go back to the player character, this timer here set to 0. If I change that to say 3, okay. If I go back to the projectile and change the max here to 4, that means it could be that'd be the maximum it could do. So if I just tap it, it would be closer to the range max. And then I want to lerp. So lerp linear color, and we'll plug the alpha into there, and then plug that into the value, and I'll choose 2 colors. So if it is really weak, we'll make it blue. And if it is really hot and fiery, no, hang on, other way around, we want it to be. Sorry. Let me just put this in. So hot and fiery, be red. So the more charge it has, the more red it'll be. Yeah, I've got it around the wrong way. So the charge here is on the player character. Release. If I release it, I want less charge. So I need to invert it. So time elapsed. Put that in there. +1. So 3. If I let go of it after 1 second, that will equal 2 plus 1, 3. If I hold on to it the whole entire way, it will equal 1. Then on the projectile over here, I want to flip this around. I think you can just type it in this way. So 4 and 1. I think that works. We'll see. If it doesn't, we can easily flip it. It's not a problem. So then that will go into there and do that. So on the player character now, when I spawn the bullet, over here, if I do first person projectile, refresh this. Oh. Refresh it. You'll see charge now. I'll plug in the current charge. Yep. And that should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. So if I just shoot it once, I get a blue ball. If I hold it down, get a more Red Bull. Hold it down for the whole duration. So I'm not letting go. Okay, so when I don't let go, it's setting it to blue. Okay. So what I need to do then... Back on. So... Can't charge... Ooh, set to... Also, when you release it, you want to make sure that charge time is valid. Don't get double. But it's coming out. Okay, let's print string the charge here. Oh. .907. Put down the whole duration. Okay, so that's output 1, then 0, 1 turned up blue, 1, 2, 3 point. So yeah, because I've got it down the other way now, I need to make this equal 4. So it hits maximum charge. That's where I was going. But yeah, if I hold it down the whole duration now, it'll come out red. Now it fires, but I'm still holding down the button. If I let go of it, it fires again. Doing that. Oh, I told it. Charge timer is valid when we release it. Yes, clear and valid. Oh wait, yeah. If this happens here, just clear and validate the timer. That means the timer's left it, which makes it invalid. I'll stop that from happening. It's quite a good thing to do is when your timers expire, is to make them invalidated. Now let go, it doesn't do it again. Charge, 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 so on and so forth. And then so you can send that charge information across to animation as well. I'll show you an example of the project. Well, I did it with yeah, so we're gonna do it with like damage, taking damage, rather than dealing damage, but it's the same concept. You're welcome, Son AB. I like to film my YouTube videos. Thank you. And please do a tutorial on how to use cable component in UE4 for hanging multiple static meshes without deform, like Chinese lanterns or flags. Yeah, seeing as you're excited to see me, we'll go through that. That'll be the last one we do, unfortunately, because we're time-wise we're out of time. But I have seen other loads of things. But yeah, there's always next week. So on here, when the character or enemy, or character, I think it might be a character. So when they receive damage here, okay, I'm sending that damage across to my animation instance. And they were hit with this amount of damage. Inside my animation instance, I'm storing that damage value as a variable and using that as part of a blend space. And that blend space looks like this when I find it. Get hit. So I have different values of animations at different points. So if I get a little hit, it'd be like this. Bigger hit like this. Even bigger one. And I get knocked on my butt, it would knock me back. So you get variations between those values. And you can see the damage value at the bottom here between 50 and 200. So that's how I do it there And so it's exactly the same thing with doing an attack like that. You've just changed the animation on a blend space between no charge to full charge. So the last thing we'll do is the hanging lantern thing. Then we'll do the cable component and so on. So the cable component is actually it's a visual trick. Let's get rid of this spinning thing. That's quite distracting. Blueprint class, actor, lantern thing. And we'll put in a box. And we'll make the box dangle. Okay, so I'm going to put it down here. I'm also going to add a cable component. And that cable component's there. And I'm going to attach the end of this cable component to this box. So we're going to do attach N2. And put in the name of the thing here to be cube. And it should... Oh, change the end location here to 0. Why is it not going down? End attach start. Not reference ourselves. If it's not provided reference, yeah, that's right. Okay, probably just needs to compile. Oh, there you go. There you go. So that will go down to character 1. But this cable actually doesn't do anything. It's just there for visuals. It just attached to it. If you want it to actually swing around, you need to have a physics component. So physics constraint component. And we want to keep this at the pivot point where it's going to swing from. And then on component name 1, you put in the cube. And the cube is now this red box you see around there. And I can now enable and disable different things, such as the angular limits, so how free it can swing, for example. Compile that and just put that into the world. Oh yeah, I have to enable physics on it first. Cube. And enable simulate physics. That should be it, I think. Yeah, now you got a swinging thing. The cable is just there as a visual aid. It doesn't actually do anything. It's the physics constraint that's doing all the work. Oh yeah, the balls. I've turned off the physics, didn't I? But that's how you do things like that. And if you want to limit how much they can swing by and things like that, you can just change the angular limits on the physics constraint here. So swings. So I've got swing going on here. If I turn off to lock it in that motion, it will only swing back and forward. And if I lock it in this one, it will only do that direction at all now. So I've got like a pendulum. Got to find which way it is. That way. This way. I've got a pendulum. It will only ever be locked to that rotation. And if you want it to suddenly come to a stop as well, you can use angular motors. So angular drive motor, you can turn on to twist and swing. And do swing. And we'll leave it as 50. And the target orientation is 0, 0, 0. So it's going to drive itself to be dangling straight down. So if I push on it, like this, it'll try and adjust itself to get to the middle. If you turn up the strength higher, then it'll do it a lot quicker. It's going to have a hard time because it's in just widely. If I change that to be, let's say, 200. A lot stronger. It does the trick. I think it's just over adjusting. I think it's like, because what it does, it basically like a spring. It pulls it back to its point, but then it's pulling it back to its point, and then it's going off the other side. You've got to pull it back to that point. I think you just have to change its just general physics as well. Yeah, probably just have to change the cube's physics here to different a little bit. But yeah, play about with the numbers and you'll see different things. Oh yeah, you don't want to use a spline. Use a cable component. Hanging multiple lanterns across a hanging cable, not vertically but horizontally. Eh? Oh right, I see what you're on. Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, you use a combination of a spline and cable and these boxes. So when you draw your spline out, it'll take too much time to do now. But when you draw your spline out, it'll place the lanterns at particular points, and then it will place cables at particular points, connecting them all up with cables. And then you can, if you want to do physics components, you have to build all this into it. It's quite lengthy to do that. You want it to be physics enabled, but yes, you can do that. It just takes a bit. But anyway, that will do for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Charith asking for about ladder system. Last week's question time actually answered that as well. As another way of doing ladders, so check that out. It'll be available soon for people to watch and catch up. I need to edit the chapters in. But thank you very much for joining me live tonight. We've got one more question time before the end of the year celebrations. If you're unaware of how we celebrate the end of the year, we do a live Christmas giveaway. So it'll be a live quiz show where we're just having fun, chilling, chatting, talking about games, and giving away cash prizes to you, the viewers. So if you want to come by and win some money and just hang out, come by on that stream. It is on the Wednesday before Christmas, so the 22nd. And the 22nd we'll be doing that live stream. So next week's question time is the last one of the year. Then you have the 22nd, and then we have a break the week after that. We're gonna take a week off, and then we're back onto it in 2022 with some new stuff. And by then, my deathmatch game should be available for people to play, so you should be able to play it. But anyway, thank you anyway for joining me tonight. If you want to support me, head over to patreon.com/RyanLady. You can get all my videos early before anyone else, access to Discord, exclusive rooms, as well as many other benefits, such as the new video poll that's out today. So people are voting now on what they want to see coming out this month on Patreon. So thank you very much for joining me live tonight, and I wish you all the best. And if I don't see you next week or the week after, have a very good Christmas, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.